Well, thank you so much for attending this session. I really appreciate it for being here. Really excited about this session. The sessions I've been doing lately are more interactive and allowing attendees to actually practice some mentally well, if you will, exercises in that. And you know, I think the last thing people want to do, especially these days with Zoom meetings, is just sit and listen to someone speak the whole time. So I'm really embracing allowing people to actually use the time for their own benefit. And so today I'm gonna spend some time going through a simple exercise that's worked for me and it's worked for my clients, and there's actually research to show that it works for many people, thousands of people that need help with their mental health. Okay, so we're going to go through that today, and I did put a note on here to make sure you have pen and paper handy. So do you have those handy? You're good. Okay, perfect, awesome. And this session is a lot of it's going to be individual work, but there'll be opportunities to share as a group. You can use the chat, or if you have a question, just let me know as I'm going through it. But after we do the exercise portion, definitely there'll be an opportunity to share, your experience. And there's no obligation. It's really just if you want to share, that's great. If not, no worries. Okay. So I'm just going to go through a few things about the stress levels that we're seeing around the world here. So there's statistics out there that around North Americans being stressed. And this is just one that I pulled from a mental health provider called Ginger. So they found throughout the pandemic, they found 69% of the workers that they polled, they stated that this is the most stressful time of their entire professional career. Okay. Even more stressful than 9/11, than the 2008 Great Depression. So this has been an extremely stressful time for people throughout North America. And then if we expand that to the world, there's a study that Gallup did as well. They completed it in 2020 and early 2021, and they were looking at the mood of the world. Let's gauge what the mood is of the world right now. And what they found is that 4 in 10 adults say they had experienced worry or stress, and 1 out of every about 1 in 4 had experienced sadness and anger. So there's some emotions going on there that people are experiencing around the pandemic, and we're seeing this play out in the media and other aspects as well of what's happening in the world around, especially the amount of anger that's being expressed in different ways. And so their findings was that in 2020, the world was sadder, angrier, more worried, and stressed out than any other time in the last 15 years. So that's pretty huge, right? The amount of stress levels. And I don't know, can each of you attest to that from your own experience? Yeah, for sure. I'm seeing some nods there for sure. Yeah. So it's, people are stressed out all over the world with what's happening, and even more so than ever before. So there's an opportunity here to make sure that that people are able to cope more effectively with stress. All right. So I've got a little gauge here just to see where you're at when it comes to coping with stress. So this scale from 1 to 10 is just kind of looking at, and you can just put in the chat what number kind of appeals to you out of 1 to 10. So 1 being you don't have any coping skills, 5 you have good coping skills, or 10 you're an absolute master at dealing with stress. All right. So we got a 7 and a 7. Great. Yeah. So you're in that green zone. That's perfect. So that's good to see. And any answer is okay here. The idea behind this is just to kind of see where people are at, and even if people are at the lower end, that's okay. If you're watching the recording here, I just want us to highlight that this is really an opportunity to see, okay, where am I at now, and how can I move up the scale to be at a place where I'm able to better cope with the stresses that are happening. Okay. And so what we're going to cover today is we're going to look at some research about a proven method to help improve your mental wellness. You're going to have an opportunity to actually experiment and practice it as well. And then also looking at how do you integrate this into your daily, weekly, monthly schedule so that you can not just learn about it today, but actually practice it on a regular basis. So it's something you can take with you and be able to use. Okay. Um, Before I get into that, I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. And I know, a number of you who are attending, and some of those watching the recording may have not met me before, but just to give you a little bit of background. So I'm an ex-banker. I was in the banking industry for about 15 years, and I've turned from there to a mental wellness coach, trainer, and author. And I've always had this passion to help people overcome obstacles, overcome their confidence struggles, their self-esteem struggles. I was dealing with it on my own, and I love helping people that are having, struggles with the soft skills, if you will, in their life when it comes to their career or their relationships. Because I was labeled as the nice guy growing up. I was agreeable, I was helpful, I was supportive, I was loyal, a great follower, and I took action primarily to make others happy. Right, really more about, if I can make that person happy or my boss happy or what have you, then things will be good. Then I'll be happy. Right. And don't get me wrong, like I had a very good childhood, lots of happy memories with family and friends. When I look at my career, I did focus more on what I saw others doing, what others told me to do, and what I believed I should be doing versus bringing my own self to the situations. Right. And at 37 years old, I actually found myself completely overwhelmed, stressed out, in a deep depression, literally in the basement of a townhouse that I owned at the time, trying to figure out how to proceed with my life. I was working in the financial service industry at that time, uh, completely stressed out, not happy with my career. My first marriage was failing, and so it felt like my whole world was falling apart. And I've been struggling with depression for many years. And I spent a lot of time, reading books, personal growth books, going and seeing therapists and psychologists, and I do it for short periods of time. So when I felt good, I would then stop the therapy, stop reading the books, and just, okay, everything's good, and I just move forward. And then I fall back in that cycle again, and I'd be in that. And I didn't necessarily call it a depression all the time. It was just more this kind of this cloudy, dark place I was in, or this stuck time that I would be in for a couple of weeks, 3 months, 6 months, sometimes over a year. And then, I'd have to go back to therapy again, or I eventually was put on antidepressant medication to help with things, which, that can work for some people. For me, it really just numbed things out, and I actually didn't really feel anything. And it wasn't until I saw a therapist who actually said, we need to get you feeling more around this depression for you to get through it. And she actually worked with my doctor to titrate off of the antidepressant so that I could feel more. And because her whole philosophy, which completely shifted things for me, was that depression can be looked at as anger turned inward. And when she said that, the light bulbs went off, because I recognized that I did not have a relationship with anger at all. I just stuffed it. I didn't express it. I just put on a nice smile and just moved forward, and didn't express my frustrations or anything I was angry about in a helpful way, because I just kept it in. I internalized it. And once I learned how to safely and effectively deal with my anger, everything changed for me. Right. And I continued to see the therapist that I had because of the approach that was used there. And I enrolled in different programs in that. And ultimately, it brought me to where I am today, where I have my coaching practice, Engage Coaching Group. I published the book that you see there, Engage, Connect, Grow, about my experience. And it was a great experience there. It became an Amazon bestseller, and be able to share that with people. There's 52 lessons in it, so people can actually do lessons once a week, nice and easy, to help with their healing. And so I'm on this mission to help sales and service professionals master thriving in their personal and professional life. And this is all tied back to mental wellness. But I believe that if I can help people with their mental wellness from the inside out, and that's where that Carl Jung quote is there, is, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. For me, a big learning for me was to not worry about what other people thought on the outside, outside of myself, or trying to change jobs or change the relationship, or all the outside factors, to actually go inside is what really worked for me. And that's the type of practice that I'm going to teach today, is a tool that's more about going inside versus externally to get help with things. Okay. And some of the research around what we're going to talk about today, it has to do with journaling. And this is actually some statistics that I use in my book and share in my book. This is Dr. James Penbaker, and he's a psychologist and leading expert in a field called expressive writing. And what he found with people that were using journaling is that it actually strengthened their immune cells. It helped them. He saw drops in people's depression and anxiety. He saw their mood increase, their ability to engage socially with people increase, their relationship quality improved just from writing things out and getting things out on paper. And another study by the University of Rochester Medical Center found that journaling can improve mental health, what we're talking about here. And they found that it helped with managing anxiety, it helped with reducing stress. And similar to Dr. James Penbaker, they found it helped people that were coping with depression and making improvements there. All right. So there's research out there that shows this. And the other aspect of this, and then the practice that we're going to do today, is going to be looking at a certain aspect of the brain. So a lot of decisions that we make are more logical. It tends to be the go-to way to, and you can let me know if you relate to this or not, but the logical side of the brain, the detail-oriented side, is where people tend to kind of gravitate towards to get a problem solved that they're having in their life. So if they're stressed out, they may logically try to figure out, okay, I need to go to the gym, I need to get exercise, I need to eat better. I need to do what other people that I see are doing to overcome that stress, right? And there's more of a logical kind of approach to it, where there's the ability to actually leverage the right side of the brain and access creativity, intuition, empathy, and really get looking at the big picture is an opportunity here to make sure that side of the brain is also being utilized. Because if we're just focusing on the logical solution to our mental health challenge that we're having, or stress challenge that we're experiencing, there's only so far we're going to be able to get. And so we're going to work today on more of the intuitive, the creative side as we go through things today. Any questions on that as we continue on? Before I continue on, no, everything sounds good. All right. So we're going to go into an exercise now. And as I mentioned earlier, it's important to have a pen and paper handy. And I want to make sure everybody has that ready to go. And then the one thing I want you to do on that piece of paper is you can write down maybe the stress level that you wrote down, the number that you were at from earlier, and also just even write a few words about how you're feeling right now. Okay, I'll just give you a second to do that. Okay. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a series of journaling exercises for 2 minutes each. And I'm going to guide you through this. And the one key component of that is when you're writing, you want to keep your pen on the paper. All right. So if you're writing during those 2 minute periods and nothing's coming to mind, you're not too sure what to write, just keep the pen moving. So just have it, maybe you're just writing a line or a little scribble and you're just keeping it moving on the paper. And there's a reason for that I can explain after. But just you want to keep the pen flowing and moving versus stopping and starting. All right. Okay. And so the first part of the lesson is what's going to happen for 2 minutes. What you're going to do is you're just going to write about nonstop for those 2 minutes about any stresses, worries, conflicts that you're currently experiencing. And you can start the exercise by writing "I'm currently experiencing," and then just start writing. And then if any point you feel like you can't write anymore, you can start again and say, "I'm currently experiencing," and just keep writing. And if you keep writing the same thing over and over again, that's okay. If you're writing things that don't seem to make sense, that's okay. It's just, there's no right way to do this exercise. It's just to keep writing out anything that's stressing you out, worrying you, that you're experiencing right now. Okay. Any questions before we get started? No, we're good. Okay. Let me get the timer ready here. And there'll be some music just playing in the background as you're doing it as well. So I'm just going to get that started. You hear that okay? I'm going to start the timer right now for 2 minutes. Okay. There's 2 minutes there. So that step is all about just getting out the stresses and worries and anything that's going on, just get it out, and then really just write it down on paper as a first step. Now, the next step is for 2 minutes, you're actually going to use your non-dominant hand. So this may feel a bit strange. So if you're right-handed, you're going to use your left hand. If you're left-handed, you're going to use your right hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to write about what is really going on. So you're going to write down, underneath my stress, I'm really feeling, and you're just going to write for 2 minutes. Okay. And you're going to do the best you can with your non-dominant hand. It may not be legible, and that's okay. And just keep the pen going, keep it moving. But you want to just continue to ask yourself, underneath my stress, I'm really feeling. Okay. I'll start the timer again. Any questions at all? Any clarity needed? No, we're good. Okay. So I'll start the timer, start the music. Okay. So how was that doing an exercise with the non-dominant hand? A little bit challenging, right? A little bit challenging, yeah. But there's a reason for it. We can talk about that as we once we're done going through the steps. But yeah, axis is a different part of the brain. Okay. So now the next step is, for 2 minutes, you're going to write about what are you believing about yourself? Okay. So in the middle of this stress, what have you been believing about yourself? And so you can start this part of the exercise with, I am believing blank. And then whatever you write after that, you want to say, and this is not true. Okay. If it's not actually true. Okay. Because what can happen is that there can be a belief that's going on that you're not able to communicate effectively or something like that, or you're not able to express yourself. And you want to say, I'm believing this, but this is not true. And then after that, you want to say, what is actually true about me is blank, right? So I'm believing this about me, and this is not true. What is actually true about me is, and then write that. So you may have a series of different statements that you're writing for 2 minutes. This one can be, you can actually choose whatever hand you'd like for this one. Maybe the non-dominant felt okay. That's okay too. Or you can go back to your dominant hand. That's fine. And so for this one, there may be a series of statements that you're writing as you write in flow for this one. Okay, so I'll start the timer. Start the music. Okay. So that was step 3. And now we're going to move on to the next step. And for this step, what you're going to write about is the actual experience that you want to have. So you've got this, at the beginning, you were writing about all this stress that's going on in your life, and you've had an opportunity to explore what you're really feeling underneath the stress. And you've also had an opportunity to experience what's actually true about you in the middle of it. And now, what you have an opportunity to do for 2 minutes is what do you want to be experiencing in your work, in your life, in all aspects of your life is, what I want to experience is this. And so for 2 minutes, you'll just keep answering that statement, and you can write it for a bit, and you can start again and say what I want to experience is, and then just fill that in, or it can just be all one long paragraph around what the experience is you want to have. Okay. So I'll start the timer. And again, you can do this one with your right or left hand, your dominant hand. You get to choose just that one exercise where you specifically used your non-dominant hand. All right. So I'll start the timer and the music. step 4. And then step 5, I'm just going to ask you just to close your eyes and just take 3 deep breaths after going through all this journaling about what's going on for you and what you actually want to experience. And just notice how you're feeling right now after going through these steps. You can even make a note of that. You need to open your eyes and just write down if your feelings have changed. Maybe your scale from 1 to 10 has changed since originally answering that question. And then once you've got kind of where you're at now and how you're feeling now compared to when you first started, just take a moment and don't think about it too much. Just what comes to mind. What's one step that you could take in the next 24 hours to help with your current situation? What does your intuition say about that? And what's coming up for you around that? And just write that down. Okay. And then as far as integrating this exercise into your life, these are some questions to ponder. And you're more than welcome to share in the chat or come off mute and share some of your own ideas. But how could you use this type of exercise for your work, your relationships, any specific particular life events that are going on for you? How could this help you? And how often do you think it would help for you to use this journaling exercise? And how can you hold yourself accountable? Because there's one thing to learn a tool like this, and if it's something that you find that will potentially work for you, like how can you hold yourself accountable? What works for you from an accountability perspective? And those of you watching the recording, this is just something just to consider as to, in addition to the step that you're going to take in the next 24 hours, like how can you, in addition to that, integrate this more into your daily life? All right. And I'll move to the sharing portion. So, and again, there's no obligation to share, and it's completely fine if people don't feel comfortable with it. I completely understand. This is more, and this can also help you just reflecting, is looking at, so how did you feel before you did the exercise or before we started today? And how do you feel now after going through it? And what are you noticing? Since doing the exercise, and what lessons, what takeaways, what insights, what feelings may be coming up for you? And it's okay if you feel worse. That's just something to be aware of. It's okay. Sometimes, in my own experience, when I was working through things, I actually felt kind of ucky and not that great after doing it, because it brought up brought up more stuff for me as well. So it sometimes doesn't necessarily feel refreshing and immediately insightful in that, and you immediately get to happiness from doing this type of thing. But it at the end of the day, it gets you feeling something, and that's what the goal is to be able to start to feel your emotions more, and then use this type of exercise where you're able to you can keep writing about it, and help exploring what is actually going on. And then what is your next step? What's the step that you would like to take in the next 24 hours around this? Right? And that could be practicing this more often. That could be talking to somebody that maybe you've got there's some conflict or difficult things going on with. Maybe it's having a conversation with them from a different place that maybe you were at originally around things. Or maybe there's a course a a podcast that you want to listen to, some episodes or what have you that can help you with this, with your mental health and the stress that's going on for you. Okay. And it should be something easy to accomplish in the next 24 hours, something that's not going to take a lot of effort, and it's something that you definitely can accomplish within the next day or so. Something easy. Okay. So the scale that I showed you earlier, and one thing I share with clients around this is, and this is where I find people tend to sit as far as, and this could be to do with stress, it could be to do with their own personal growth. A lot of these areas can still apply, these zones, if you will, these colored zones. So there's the status quo mindset. So these are going to be people that are just at a place where there's a belief around that the way that they're doing things today is the only way they can do things moving forward. So they're just going to keep following the status quo. And there's no real openness to new ideas or insights or ways of doing things. They were taught a certain way to do things, and that's just the way that they believe is going to work. And then there's the planner mindset. So you get to that yellow zone, and the planner mindset is more around, looking at and researching new ways of doing things. Maybe they've met somebody that's in the same career that they're in, and they're doing things a lot differently than they had thought, right? Or they're handling their relationship a lot differently than they thought they were supposed to handle their relationship, and it seems to be working for them. So they're researching, they're reading books, they're listening to podcasts, watching videos, maybe taking some self-study type of courses, like just doing a lot of things on their own. That's the planner, not taking a lot of action, but just kind of researching and doing some simple things to explore, not taking any major risk. And then the action mindset is somebody who is just in full action mode. They're taking action on the different courses they take. They implement new skills and abilities, and they're trying new things and to reach their goals. And they're consistently doing things every day to help them get to their the big goal that they want to have. And so they have, these are people that have a full to-do list. They're checking off the boxes every day to make sure that certain things are done every day to ultimately reach that big goal they have. Maybe it's a I help a lot of people in sales and customer service. There may be some targets that they're looking to reach, and they've kind of reversed engineered what they need to do today to be able to hit those targets on a quarterly basis or annual basis. And then you've got this other zone, the 9-10 zone, and that's the thriving mindset. So this is where the intuition, that right side of the brain, comes in. The empathy comes in. The belief that things are just going to work out regardless of the action in some ways, right? The action is more intuitive based versus just, I've got to do this, more fear based. So the thriving mindset is at a place where they don't necessarily have to have a checklist to check things off the box. They're more kind of just guided by feeling and intuition and what makes sense based on their values. And so what I love doing when working with people is working with people in that yellow and green zone and helping them move to that super green zone, the thriving mindset, and guiding them through that process is what I really enjoy as a mental wellness coach, and encourage people to look at just kind of reflecting on where they're at in those zones and what steps they can take to be able to move along the scale there. So some additional resources I just wanted to share before we wrap up today. I do have a free resource, the 3 keys you must master to thrive in all aspects of your life, your personal, professional, and family life. I can share that with you in the chat here if anybody's interested, or happy to share it with people who are watching the recording. You can just contact me and I can definitely forward that to you. There's if you're interested in having a more of a detailed workbook to be able to go through and do exercises similar to what we did today. Engage, Connect, Grow is my book that's on Amazon, if we can find it there. And I am looking to start a group. I'm looking to do this on a regular basis with people and having a mentally well together mastermind, if you will. So we're able to get together, talk about what's going on in our work and personal lives in a place that's supportive, and also really practice these types of exercises together and having a community around that. So if anybody's interested in that, what you can do actually is just write the corresponding number or numbers that you're interested in and your email address in the chat, and then I can follow up with you, or you can do that in the comments of the video here that you're watching the replay of, and happy to connect with you and share those information with you. Right. And so I want to congratulate all of you for being here and watching this video. If you're watching the replay, because you're really taking care of yourself today. And that is a huge step. Taking care of yourself can enable you to take care of the clients and those people that are important in your life in a more compassionate way. And as you learned today, that journaling is one tool that, if you're using it on a daily basis, regular basis, as the research showed, it can help with your immune cells, which is fascinating, that it actually can strengthen your immune cells just by writing out what's going on for you. It can drop depression and anxiety. It can help with your mood, help with your ability to engage socially with people in your life, help your relationships, help with anxiety, reduce your stress, and ultimately help with depression. And this quote by Carl Jung really, as I said earlier, it says a lot to me, as far as those who look outside dream, and those who look inside awaken. And for me, the work that I do with people is to help them focus on the inside of what's really going on internally, what's happening in their experience around the stresses in their life, and be able to work from that place, versus trying to find some outside method that's outside of themselves, which may only get them so far. It may work for a bit, as medication and going and seeing psychologists and that, and different methods for only short periods of time worked for me. And then I fall back into those, that dark cloud, that stuck place, where when I really found out what was truly going on and finding people that help from the inside out, that's where the benefits and the being able to access joy and happiness and just feeling more energized about life can occur. So I really thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your time, and any feedback you have, any insights you want to share, please reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn. There's an Engaged Coaching Group page on Facebook and LinkedIn, and then Aaron Solly, myself personally, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Any comments and feedback? Yeah. Thanks so much for being here today.